Hey guys, today I thought I'd do a video about why I started YouTube, because a couple of people have asked me. The most recent was one of my lovely subscribers. His name is Jorg. I'm really bad at German pronunciation, as we know, but yeah, he kind of asked me why did I start YouTube, because it is one of those things that a lot of people kind of fall into, and I kind of thought I would talk about my journey a little bit. So my journey with YouTube is a little bit of a strange one. I'd liked YouTube for quite a long time. You know, most people do. You go on YouTube, it's very easy to find content that you enjoy because so many people are YouTubers these days. But the reason I ended up watching YouTube in the first place, properly, religiously, you know, with an account following people, was because of a lady called Carrie Hope Fletcher. You may have heard of her, you may not. She's very famous in the West End in London. She's a musical theatre actress, and I have seen her in everything she has done. And the first time I ever came across her was when I went to go and see Les Miserables with my mum. I think my 15th or 16th time I've seen Les Mis a lot. It's my favourite. And I must have been about 19, 20 at the time, so this was kind of like 5-6 years ago now. And I thought she was amazing. And in the programme it said she was the sister of Tom Fletcher, who is in McFly, if you know the band. I loved McFly when I was growing up, and that she had a YouTube channel. So I thought I'd check it out. And I've been hooked on her content ever since, because she does a lot of backstage musical theatre vlogs, a lot of singing videos, and a lot of stuff that I am really interested in. As a lot of you know, I do amateur dramatics on the side, and I often film backstage shots of that. So that kind of came from her. So I started watching religiously, and I just loved the idea of kind of a little online community where you can express your opinions and people can agree with them, argue with them, give you insights, teach you things, and I just thought it was brilliant. But I didn't start my YouTube channel then. It wasn't like I watched her videos and immediately I was like, I must do this. In fact, it was actually a couple of years later that I really sat down and decided now is the time. And the reason that happened was a bit of a weird one. So in the summer of 2016, I got really sick. And I've kind of touched on this a little bit before. One of my early videos is rambling, and I really don't like watching my really early videos about kind of why I'm doing this and the other YouTubers I like. So to put it plainly, I got really, really ill in May of 2016. And it all started when I was at university. I had an exam that day, a history exam, you know, my history degree, which I never mention on this channel ever. And I hadn't eaten anything that day because I was very nervous. I don't normally eat breakfast anyway. So I had had a lot of coffee to kind of keep me going. I'd been in the library for kind of 3 hours before the exam started with my friends, trying to cram in some last minute revision. And I just think the anxiety of having this exam, having not eaten anything, and the only thing in my body coursing through my veins was pure caffeine, it did not go well, essentially. I was sitting outside the library having a panic attack. I'd never had one before, rocking back and forth because I felt so sick. Honestly, I threw up in a hedge. It was really embarrassing. A load of people saw me. And then I went to the bathroom and was like desperately like throwing water on my face to try and calm me down. And I was shaking. I couldn't breathe, and I felt so ill. And I went into this exam hall and I said, please can I take this exam in isolation, just so I'm by myself and then I can kind of, you know, feel all crap by myself. And they said, no, either take the exam now or fail this module this year and have to retake it with all of your other modules next year. And obviously I was like, okay, well, I am going to take this exam now then. And this was on a very hot day in May 2016, very hot, like nearly 30 degrees, which I know isn't that hot for everybody in America who has like 40-degree heat all the time, but Germans, you'll get me, like 30 degrees is hot for a country where it's kind of raining and grey, like most of the time. So I went into this exam, and I remember I was shaking the whole time through. Like, I can't even tell you what I wrote, but it was extremely embarrassing because I had to get up at one point in the exam and a man had to take me to the toilet to obviously make sure I didn't cheat. Stood outside as I was kind of on this toilet like, oh my god. Went back, finished the exam and went home. So that was okay. It wasn't the end of the world. I was just a bit freaked out that I'd been so ill in public. then the main issue that kind of really took over when I got sick was because I went to Comic-Con in London. You know what Comic-Con is, they have them in America, they probably, you know, have them all over the world, they definitely have some in Germany, you know, Comic-Con. And I was going as Black Widow from the Avengers, and I looked sassy, and I dyed my hair red, and it was all good, and I was, you know, raring to go. So we get on the train to go up to London. As soon as those train doors closed, I started to feel violently sick, like awfully sick. And the journey to the EdExcel Centre in London, where Comic-Con is held, was about an hour and a half, and I was freaking out the whole time. I then got there, and we went in, and I walked around for about half an hour feeling like death. And I then walked out, and I threw up all over the steps in front of hundreds of people. And it was one of the most embarrassing moments in my whole life. And as a result, I've kind of rambled on a little bit here as to why I started YouTube, but as a result, I didn't leave the house again for 3 months. So from kind of May to August, end of August, I did not leave my parents' house where I was living at the time. I didn't leave. I would go into the garden, and I was doing a summer show, which I tried to quit, but they kind of said, this will be really good for you, and I'm really glad that they did say that, because that was pretty much the only time I did go out, was to go and do the show and then run back to my room. I just didn't leave, and it was awful, and I was severely depressed and anxious, and I felt sick all the time, and I lost 2.5 stone in 3 months, which is an insane amount of weight. I wasn't eating, and I was just so scared and sick all the time, and it was horrendous. So the reason I started YouTube was because I was having therapy at the time, which is not anything to be ashamed of, ever. I think therapy is really useful, even if you are in the most sound mental health place you could be. It's always good to talk to someone and kind of hear their opinions, especially if they are a trained professional. So I was having CBT, it's called in the UK, it stands for Cognitive Behavioural Therapy. So essentially they're kind of teaching you to handle situations. So mine was obviously going outside and like being with people and, you know, being a normal human being again. And my therapist asked what I enjoyed, essentially, and what was keeping me going in the days where I was spending every single day at my parents' house, like where I was living. What was I doing? And I just said I watched YouTube. And she was like, well, what do you like watching about YouTube? Like, what kind of content do you like? And I was telling her about Carrie and kind of all the other YouTubers and vloggers I'd kind of picked up after that. And she was like, have you noticed though that they're all outside pretty much? And I was like, yeah, like the vloggers are outside. And she was like, well, how about you pick up a camera and vlog your day? Because then that will keep you distracted while you're kind of freaking out, instead of like trying to kind of experience everything all in one go. Why don't you just focus on one thing, and that is filming what you are doing? Which is what I did. That's what I did. So the reason I started YouTube is essentially because my therapist said, you will enjoy it and it will keep your mind off it. And it really did, it really helped. So I started creating videos and vlogs. Like if you watch the Midsummer Night's Dream vlog, that is the show I'm talking about where I was really sick. I am filming so I don't feel nervous, because I am so kind of fixated on making sure I get some good shots, and kind of, I didn't want to look ill, I wanted to look fine. So yeah, I did what my therapist told me and I got better. By kind of like September 2016, I was feeling better but not completely back to normal. It was really around Christmas time that I really kind of was myself again, and I could go out to places, I could sit in theatres, I could sit in restaurants again without freaking out that I was going to feel really ill and throw up on people. And obviously I then enjoyed it. It wasn't like it was just a kind of a crutch to keep me going. It was actually something I really enjoyed. And now I look back at all the videos I've created and they are such good memories for me, especially like the drama group ones and the holiday vlogs for me, because I look back and I'm like, I had the best time there. It was amazing. So it's become so much more than just me feeling ill. And then I was obviously lucky enough to then get some subscribers, because I was never expecting subscribers. It was just for me and maybe like some family friends who kind of were being supportive of my channel. And then you guys came out of nowhere, really. I uploaded my How is kind of Germany different to England video, and I got so many views for me, and I got so many subscribers for me, and I'm over the moon, because now it just means that people, you know, genuinely enjoy my content and like listening to me ramble on, and I really, really appreciate that, because I love it. I really do. So that was a very long-winded story about how I got into YouTube. Bit of a weird one, as I said, but I wouldn't have it any other way, because it's kind of brought me as to where I am now. It's got me the amazing subscribers and my Patreons, who are just the best people, and I would not change it for the world, ever. I'm so happy. So I really hope you enjoyed my weird, you know, journey into YouTube. If you have any other questions, do let me know. If you want to know more about kind of the mental health journey I went on, because we all suffer with mental health at some point in our lives, and it's not a stigma, it's not something to be ashamed of, and I'm not. It's turned me into the person I am today. If you want to hear any more about that, then maybe I'll do another video kind of about coping techniques or what I went through, or, you know, anything. Just let me know. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry it's been a bit of a kind of like long rambly one, but I wanted to get all the information in there. So I shall see you really soon. Hope you enjoyed it, and have a lovely weekend, evening, day, whatever you're up to.